You're listening to Ag Airwaves, conversations with agricultural aviation pilots and operators, experts, and innovators who propel our industry. Ag Airwaves is brought to you by Air Tractor and hosted by Graham Lavender of Ag Air Update.
Hello, I'm Graham Lavender with Ag Air Update, and we are here today with Jim Hirsch, president of Air Tractor. We wanted to talk to Jim today about this new Ag Airwaves podcast, some things going on with Air Tractor, and just a general consensus of what Jim thinks is going on with the industry and how Air Tractor is handling challenges and how they're doing things through the year and into next year. Jim, how are you today?
Good morning, Graham. I'm doing great. It's a little hot out here in Olney. Summer is definitely on us. But things are going well. The factory is busy and buzzing, and airplanes are rolling out the door.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. Tell everybody a little bit about this Ag Airwaves podcast, how it originated at Air Tractor, and maybe, what are we trying to accomplish? What are some of the things you're excited about? I know we're excited about it here at Ag Air Update, a way to get more information out to the industry. And what are some of the things that's going through your mind when we're talking about these Ag Airwaves?
You bet, Graham, and glad to be here doing this. I've wanted to increase our social media footprint for a long time now. We've been a little slow coming to the table maybe, but saw this a year or so ago as a great opportunity to just get some information out to our customer base and to the industry. So again, we're very pleased to be a part of this.
Well, you're on the first episode, so that's really, really good. And then, as time goes on, I kind of, in my mind, I see different topics that are relative to our industry, covering those and different challenges that everybody experiences and challenges that maybe you guys at Air Tractor are experiencing. What are some of those? Are you guys, I know during the COVID crisis and all of that, almost everybody had supply chain challenges. Are you at Air Tractor still dealing with those challenges? Have you mitigated them, or how are things going?
Yeah, Graham, it's not been an easy 3 years, so to speak,
Right.
Particularly on the supply chain side. And yes, we are still dealing with supply chain challenges. More fundamentally these days, it's been raw materials. Most of the small parts, whether it was a relay or a hose, we found alternates. The supplier has come and gotten production ramped back up, and so we find ourselves pretty whole on a lot of stuff that has been problematic over the years. However, like I said, aviation is still in a quote boom kind of time frame, and particularly metals and specialty metals are problematic. It's been problematic for Pratt & Whitney as well, and they've been late on engines. So, yeah, the supply chain challenges aren't over.
What's your biggest challenge right now? What do you think the biggest challenge in the supply chain? Is it those raw materials from a single or double source, or is it paint? It's
the paints and sealants and most of the chemical-based stuff, it's flowing pretty well. There's a lot of things that are just in time. The biggest challenge is the raw materials. It's the high alloy aluminum. A lot of those parts go into wings that are very difficult. We've developed some other suppliers. The wing spar caps are another one that's a challenge. We actually had the group from England here in Olney last week working on that and developing different supply chains for that as well. Those things aren't things you can just run out and buy 70-75 type aluminum extrusions or something. You got to develop an alternate source. One of the things that's driving that is a lot of those alloying elements that go into high strength metals come from the former Eastern Bloc, from Ukraine and Russia, and with the war raging over there, supplies of a lot of those specialty elements, nickel in particular, is very difficult these days.
Yeah, I can imagine, and with all the geopolitical climate and things like that, there's so many moving parts to this supply chain issue. There doesn't seem to be one solid, one size fits all solution, except time. So it seems like time is about the only thing that'll help it get better.
Right, that's true. It just takes some time. Like I said, we've developed some alternate sources for some of these things, but we are just nip and tuck on a number of those different items, and it's actually keeping us from building the number of airplanes we'd like to build and responding to this phenomenal demand that we have in the market right now.
Right. Let's talk about that demand a little bit. How are you seeing demand for the air tractor product as compared to 2, 5, 10 years ago? And obviously the factory is more than well equipped to handle that demand. But what are you seeing on the manufacturer side? Is the demand, is it a linear increase, or do you think we're almost at a plateau, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's got to level out at some point. It always
Right.
does. We'll talk about the ag market first, and then firefighting, and then the special mission piece just a little bit. Ag is still the core by far. The vast majority of the airplanes we build are for the ag market. And I find this really interesting. Commodities prices are still very strong, and that makes farmers very optimistic, and our customers and operators optimistic as well. Interesting that, again, while the Russia-Ukraine situation is feeding into the hampering of the supply chain, it's also on the other side of the coin driving demand, with wheat and very little wheat coming out of Ukraine. The prices are staying strong. There's more demand for grain products than what there is supply. A lot of people don't realize 20% of the world's wheat is grown in Russia and Ukraine. So with that war going on there, it's driving our demand. Again, with the supply chain, we're struggling to meet the demand. We built more airplanes last year than we ever have, and we got a shot at, and likely will exceed that in production this year.
Wow, that's phenomenal, and that's another interesting bit about that Eastern European bloc there with the wheat. So, speaking of demand and global demand, you and I both just got back from Brazil, got back from the SINDAG show, and Brazil seems to really be blowing up, and it has been over the past 5 to 10 years. How is Air Tractor facilitating that demand in South America? And, I have my own opinions on why I think the demand is growing down there. They're just a little bit behind the U.S. when it comes to getting from the smaller, less productive airplanes and finally understanding how productive a turbine air tractor can be. And I think, what's happening down there probably happened to us in the 90s and the early 2000s. And is that your take on it?
You're spot on, Graham. I came here to Air Tractor and went to work for Leland early 92, and experienced that growth in the turbine in the U.S. market and the move to the big high productive turbine airplanes. And I think we're seeing pretty much the same thing in Brazil now, as operators and farmers both realize the productivity and the gains of the big turbine airplanes down there. We went down a few days early and went and visited some customers. The typical customer we went and saw has 2, maybe 3 big turbine airplanes, and then they still have some smaller piston airplanes. And every one of them's plan looking forward is to replace the smaller piston airplanes with the big turbine airplanes. And that's a great news story for us here at Air Tractor.
Right, right. And then I guess that shifted gears a little bit from that South American market back up here to the U.S. Air Tractor started off the year with some scheduled AMT, aircraft maintenance technician courses to, from what I understand, really dive down into the specialty maintenance practices of the Air Tractor airframe, and really take some of these mechanics and say, here are some gotchas, here are some must-haves. Can you expand a little bit on that? And, was there a catalyst that really said, we really need to get these A&Ps trained up? Or if, like your advertising slogan goes, maintenance does matter, and the better you maintain the aircraft, obviously, the better it'll treat you. Expand on that for me just a little bit on the courses that Air Tractor is offering.
Sure, Graham. So, we've seen a need for training industry-wide in maintenance worldwide for a long time. Had the opportunity 5 or 6 years ago to hire a fella that specialized in training mechanics. He came from a regional technical school where he taught A&P, and so we got that kicked off and got him and helped him, and he developed a nice mechanic training program, and we started doing the factory training just before COVID. And of course, COVID shut that down worldwide. People just weren't traveling and visiting and going to other places. So we worked real hard in the past year or so to get that stood back up, get some synergy behind it, and get some folks coming back in here to the factory to get educated on the airframe. Not only here in the U.S., Graham, but worldwide, we just have more and more operators operating their airplanes, and so it's a great niche little maintenance training course that's specific to the Air Tractor products, covers all the little nuances and unique pieces of maintaining an Air Tractor airplane.
And that goes for all models, right?
Yes,
it's not a specific model.
Yeah, it's really a 5-day class that covers all the models and all of the different types of maintenance, be it inspections or repairs and special repairs. Again, you're right, for all the models.
Okay. And if anyone's interested in signing up for the class, on the Air Tractor website, you should be able to enroll.
Yep, that's correct. So go to www.airtractor.com and find the enroll button, or call the factory and Kayla will answer the phone and get you to Brian. We'll get you enrolled.
All right. Well, that's exciting. You've got a couple of classes through the end of the year. Do you plan to keep the program going through 24?
Absolutely. So this will be an ongoing thing. Again, there's demand. Right now we're behind. We've got a list of folks that want to come get to training. So we're filling that in, but there's also positions open. So absolutely, we will run this on through 2024 and into 2025 is the plan.
All right. Well, that's good. So if you missed what Jim said, just go on airtractor.com, click the enroll button for the maintenance training, or you can even call the factory. Get in touch with Brian there at the factory and get you signed up and get some of that good information on the airframe. Another thing that Air Tractor is really, really proud of, I've seen it from the kind of the back seat here, is your Operation Excellence Initiative. I couldn't get it all out. Will you explain that a little bit and explain why that is important with such an employee-owned company like you guys have?
So for any company, as you grow, you just want to get better, right? We want to build a better product, increase our quality while increasing our number of airplanes built every year. So we start looking at ways to get better. And one of the things we looked at and evolved into, we call an operational excellence. It incorporates a lot of different phases, but in the big picture, the idea is for everyone here, no matter what you do, whether you work on the floor, drilling holes and driving rivets, or work in the office, accounting or sales administration or whatever, it's about setting a goal toward true north and getting better, finding ways to do your job better, and turn out a higher quality, better product. So in the big picture, that's what operational excellence is. We want to operate in an excellent way.
Right.
So
right.
that comes with training and recognizing shortfalls, whether it's quality or improving in the production process. One of the things we've spent the past year and a half really working hard on is teaching our people core problem solving. So this is an example of the different pieces of an operational excellence program. Teach people to solve problems in a pragmatic, logistic way. So that's, like I said, just an example of operational excellence principles.
Right. That's good. It's very, very impressive. Recently, Air Tractor just sent out a press release on some of the things they're doing to meet that unique customer demand, and one of them was the debut of some new factory paint scheme options for the Air Tractor. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure, Graham. So, from time to time, we look at our brand recognition, and I like to keep that pretty consistent and not make big changes to it. To facilitate the production of all the airplanes, one of the biggest bottlenecks we've had, and paint is a bottleneck no matter where I've gone, but we were looking for a way to add some efficiency to the paint process, and in the striping scheme there were some opportunities there. So that was one of the big reasons why we're tweaking with the paint scheme a little bit to help meet the demand and help us get airplanes completed and delivered.
Right. There's good looking paint schemes. There's the paint schemes are available to look at on agairupdate.com and airtractor.com. Another big push that the Air Tractor is getting involved with is the Swath Pro system. And I know the Swath Pro system has some fabulous technology. If you'd like to tell everybody a little bit about why this system is so phenomenal.
Yeah, so I met the Swath Pro folks a number of years ago and gravitated to their product. What impressed me the most was the fact that through a microcontroller, a pilot could control each individual nozzle on the airplane and give true variable rate, as well as set up nozzle configurations and be able to change those on the fly without having to go land and change orifice sizes or do things like that. So it's added to the efficiency and to the precision of the application through the airplane. So we're very excited about the Swath Pro system here.
Yeah, it's phenomenal technology. I've spoken to Jeff a little bit about it, and we did a little write-up on it, and just the ability to compensate upwind versus downwind speed. It's really just cutting edge technology for the ag aircraft.
Yeah, being able to do things like, we had a valve that was a right boom shutoff. Well, now you can simply turn off the outboard 6 nozzles if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Or other combinations. You can literally turn off the outboard 4 nozzles on both booms and narrow the swath and keep more material out of the wing vortex. There are just so many different things that you can do, and the reports I'm getting back from operators who've installed it, and there's a number of them that installed them early this spring, are just phenomenal. They are coming back saying, I don't know how we lived without this thing before.
Right. And that's available at any air tractor dealer.
Yeah,
right?
Any air tractor dealer. Jeff Haymeyer with Capstan is helping us push that and helping with the installations as we get this program off the ground and get it running.
All right, that's good. That's really exciting. You know, with this first initial interview being with you and representing Air Tractor, I'm sure on everybody's mind, what's coming up? Well, what do you have, on deck as from a factory standpoint that you can talk about and tell some of these listeners, this is what we got coming, and we've got some exciting things happening here at the factory. Is there anything you can share with everybody?
Yeah, well, the biggest one is kind of an old hat, but there's exciting news with it, and that's the 1002 development. We've gotten some really good traction in the past year to get the 1002 back up and get the program moving forward. We resettled a new cert basis with the FAA a little over a year ago now. The second prototype airplane is in construction. The wings should go on it in the next week or so, and that airplane will be flying, should be later this year, around the first of the fourth quarter. That'll put us into the factory flight test program. And so the good news is the 1002 is finally coming. We got traction. We've got good support from the FAA, which frankly we haven't always had. And I'm excited about the 1002 coming and getting it certified. It's probably around early 2025 before we actually finish the cert, but starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, that there is a path forward to finish this thing.
That's great. And that aircraft, just a refresher, is going to be a 1,000-gallon airplane, and it'll be powered by the 67F. Is that correct?
That's correct. 1,000-gallon, 22,000-pound gross weight airplane, 67F power. To 1,700 shaft horsepower, and we believe it will be absolutely utilized in both ag and firefighting.
And now what happened with the 802? Initially a firefighting aircraft, and somebody put some booms on it, right?
Yep, and or hung a spreader under it,
Right.
Those fertilizer those big airplanes make great fertilizer airplanes.
Right. That's great. Two more things, and we'll wrap it up. I want you to touch real quickly. The whole ag aviation community lost a really good friend of everyone with the passing of Grant Lane last month. Any comments you'd like to speak on that? He was a long time air tractor dealer and a friend.
Yeah, and of course, George, his father, was the first air tractor dealer. That legacy is, so special to this industry, and Lane Aviation has been a huge part of propelling air tractor and the whole industry forward. Obviously, the loss of Grant is great loss. He and I have been good friends for over 30 years, and, he and his family are near and dear to our hearts. Even with the loss, though, the good news is Logan's there. He's stepping up and has been, and is ready to take the torch for Lane Aviation forward. So we're very proud to have Logan to keep that legacy going.
Yep, it was definitely a sad day for everyone. And in closing, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and remind everybody your long-standing history with Air Tractor and how you started and where you're at.
Yeah, I born and raised in College Station at Texas A&M. My dad taught engineering there for 38 years. I was actually about to graduate in aerospace engineering when and I was working on an instrument rating. And I asked my flight instructor, Dr. Jim, what do you think I'm going to jobs in aerospace are pretty thin. And he told me that a classmate of his at Texas A&M, a fellow named Leland Snow, was in Texas building airplanes somewhere, and he thought with my gifts to be an engineer and a mechanic that we might find something together. So I looked up Leland, didn't even know Aldie, Texas existed, and finally got to talk to Leland and made a visit up here, and he offered me a job. So I've been here over 31 years now. I've gotten to do a little bit of everything, Graham, from engineering and structural analysis to tests and avionics and flying and flight test. Had tailwheel flight experience, but never was an ag pilot. And it's just evolved into a great situation. I'm really proud. It's been 12 years since Leland passed now, that we've been able to carry the torch forward and continue the great tradition of Air Tractor, and continue to bring this great product to the ag and firefighting industries.
Well, Jim, I really appreciate your time today. I'm sure everyone else does as well. We're going to wrap up our conversation with Jim Hirsch of Air Tractor now, and hope to come back to you guys on the next episode. So I'm Graham Lavender with Ag Air Update, and we're signing off with Jim Hirsch of Air Tractor.
Thank you, Graham.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Ag Airwaves. You can subscribe to this podcast with your favorite podcast app. Get a transcript of this episode and listen to others at airtractor.com/podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on Ag Airwaves, contact Graham Lavender at agairupdate.com. We'll be back soon with another episode. Welcome to Ag Airwaves, a podcast for the agricultural aviation industry. We'll host in-depth conversations with ag pilots and operators, industry experts, and more. Learn from their experience and insights, and get to know these hard-working and interesting people better.